Wake the hell up, Console Deals subscribers. We've got a game to talk about. Hi there guys, it's Aaron here from Console Deals, back again with another video to finish off your week. This time we're talking about just a tiny game called Cyberpunk 2077, obviously released this week on PS4, Xbox and PC. And yeah, I think it's safe to say that people definitely have some opinions on it. But everybody is probably, clamoring, Aaron, what do you think of Cyberpunk? We cannot sleep until we know what Aaron thinks of Cyberpunk 2077. And well, I like it. I'm not going to lie. I don't love it. I like it. But before I get into it any further, let me just preface this by saying that I think I'm about 6 to 8 hours in so far, which basically means I've seen the credits roll. The title screen appear, I beg your pardon. So I would say I've played a nice sizable chunk of it to really know what the experience is offering by now. Obviously CDProjektRed, they have a huge caliber in trying to develop a game that, is trying to break out of The Witcher 3's very long shadow. But for the most part, I would say it delivers on their vision. Is it the best thing since sliced bread? Not really, don't get me wrong. I still like a cheese toasty. But if I were to describe Cyberpunk 2077, it would be un croque de fromage, which is, I believe a very fancy cheese toasty that they have in France. But to get into the game proper, no, it's really good. It really lets you fulfill that fantasy of living in a cyberpunk universe, a cyberpunk built-up metropolitan city, the kind of thing you would have seen in Blade Runner or, read about in William Gibson's Neuromancer, if you're a fan of that book. But the thing that surprises me the most is the shooting actually feels rather decent. A lot of times with an open world RPG like this, in the style of Fallout or, something even like the Outer Worlds, the shooting doesn't feel great, understandably, because it doesn't have to. But I don't know if it's the fact that, numbers fly out of enemies or, the cover feels natural. But for a big RPG open world like this, I think the shooting is very solid. As is the driving for the most part, other than the fact that I keep overtaking turns because the minimap is just so zoomed in that I can't time my turns correctly. The car is actually all handled differently, and I would say, using it on an Xbox One X controller, it controls really well. So yeah, I am playing it on an Xbox One X. I do have a PS5, but if you remember a couple months ago, I unboxed the Cyberpunk 2077 Special Edition Xbox One X, so I got a copy free with that, and that is what I'm playing it on. To talk about less glowing aspects of the game, yeah, there's definitely a visual hit here. It does not look next-gen, which is understandable because I'm playing it technically on the previous gen, but even for what that machine should be capable of, 4K HDR, 60 frames per second, it's not the best visually. Now, I know visuals aren't everything, but I thought Watch Dogs Legion looked absolutely fantastic on the Xbox One X, and I'm not even too sure if it did have full ray tracing support on that. I imagine it didn't, because that's something that only the new consoles are really promoting. So yeah, it does pale in comparison to something like Watch Dogs Legion, just from a visual standpoint. I think that really did look like a believable world, but you forgive it because Cyberpunk 2077, it's obviously super stylized, and what it lacks in sort of just pure size, it makes up for in density. This is a very built up area, and you can explore it however you please. I think open world fatigue is a serious issue, especially for, gamers of my age, when you're in that early 20s to late 20s bracket. Try and guess which one I am, where your time is precious and you don't have just endless time to kind of sit in front of your TV and play something. It's nice to have a game that respects your time and rewards you for having a look around these little nooks and crannies, rather than having to travel endless distances in order to kind of just find something of interest. So like I said, about 8 hours in, I played about 10 of the mainline story missions. I believe there's 30 overall, so technically I'm a third into the campaign, but I have no idea how long an average mission is, and I've only just partially dipped into the side stuff because I really wanted to get to that title screen where the world really opens up. But even before then, you're enhancing your cyberware, you're using your cyber deck to kind of hack cameras and make your way through missions your own way. Odds are, I'll try to be stealthy when I'm going through an enemy building, an enemy faction, but it does just all blow up eventually, which is why I say that the shooting's really good. So would I recommend you buy Cyberpunk 2077 right now? It's hard. It's a hard question because there's so much already to play at the end of the year. Immortals Phoenix Rising just came out, and you've got 2 other Ubisoft games in, Watch Dogs Legion and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I honestly would say that if you can bear it, potentially wait for the next gen version of Cyberpunk 2077, purely because I have experienced like 3 crashes already in the 8 hours I've played, which is by no means the worst glitch that I've seen. I'm sure you've seen worse things from other people playing Cyberpunk 2077. I can't imagine what playing it must be like on a base PS4 or, a launch Xbox One. It's mind-blowing to me. Also mind-blowing is the fact that CDProjektRed started off developing for those consoles, not knowing when it would come out, and yet they seem to be performing the worst. It very much seems like a situation where CDProjektRed have developed this game with PC being the primary platform, and then they've had to scale that back for the current gen systems, hence why the next gen version is indefinitely delayed, even though they say it's coming next year. But if you can, stomach a lot of glitches, the game does say frequently enough that it hasn't become a real issue for me just yet. There is this one glitch I keep coming up against where the screen will freeze for like a full 30 seconds and I'll just be about to reset my console and then everything will kick back into action. And obviously I know what the game's trying to do. There are hardly any load screens other than when you go in and out of buildings really, so you can kind of drive from one side of Night City all the way to the other, not experience a load, except, in order to compensate that, at the moment on current gen consoles, it is, just giving me these really harsh freezes. But outside of that, I'm intrigued by the story. The universe is just dripping in absolute density and cyberpunk lore. So, if you really do want to live that, I know we had Observer, which has also got a next gen version at the moment, which is a Rutger Hauer game, and you play as a kind of futuristic investigator. But that game was very linear, and by comparison, Cyberpunk is kind of like a sprawling metropolis, which is of course the main selling point. So yeah, those are my early impressions of Cyberpunk 2077. Depending on what happens next week, I might do another update video like this, let you know how I'm getting on. Maybe even an official review. Who's to say? Like I said, I'm about a third of the way through the campaign, but this isn't really a game I want to rush through. But what are your impressions of Cyberpunk 2077? I would really like to know. Have you picked it up on the current gen consoles? Are you playing it on last gen? Maybe you're having a much better time on PC, even though I know that, that isn't a platform that's free of glitches entirely also. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you like these impressions and if you want more videos like this, do subscribe to the channel, give us a like if you can. And yeah, we've got lots of fun stuff coming up heading into the festive season. So lots of fun stuff to look forward to. But until next time, enjoy Cyberpunk if you're playing it, enjoy something else if you're not, and I'll see you next time. Happy gaming. Hi there guys, it's Aaron here.